Well, terrific. The wheel just spun off this windmill because of the high winds and almost landed on the vehicle. Must be my lucky day. Better go buy a lottery ticket. Looks like Subaru is sending us a Crosstrek to drive. Let's take a look at the paperwork they sent on our email. A lot of standard equipment here. I'll just scroll down real quick. Light on the options, just a moonroof and a speaker stereo system. Kind of light on the options, just a sunroof, they call it a moonroof, and a speaker system with navigation. There you go. It's assembled in Indiana, but at least the engine and transmission is totally made in Japan, and they ship it over. Good to know. And here's the claim fuel economy, not bad for basically what is a four-wheel drive. By the way, we also tested a Subaru Impreza a few months ago. If you want to see that video, get on our channel. We have lots and lots of cars to see. About 700 in all. So here it is in person, and we're going to have to do this under the awning because it's like 116 degrees outside today. Very, very hot. Nice looking vehicle. It doesn't look much different than the previous ones, just some minor updates. And from the rear, and the Illinois plate, because that's where they're put together. One of the first things we do when we get a vehicle is take it out in the dark and see how the headlights perform and do a night drive. We already did a video on that on YouTube. You didn't see it. We'll have a link for it. Part 2 in this video, so you won't miss anything. The second thing we do is check and see if there's a spare tire. I hope so. This is intended to be off-roading. Nice rubber mat. Yep, sure do. And the third thing we do is check and see what brand of tires we're getting, because a lot of vehicles are using cheapies to save money. Here we have Falcons. I don't like this brand, but that's just personal opinion for me. Not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'd be a lot more impressed if we had some Michelins on here. What can I tell you? Instead of an inline 4-cylinder where all the pistons are moving up and down, this is a boxer engine where they're moving sideways. The advantage of that is you have a very low engine. Allows a low profile hood. Contrary to what you read on the internet, this is a pretty reliable engine. Some early models years ago had some head gasket issues with, even that was after 100,000 miles. They're pretty reliable. I don't see anything happening for the first 150,000 miles anyway, if you maintain them the way you're supposed to. This is the 2.5 liter. I think the horsepower rating was 182. If you want to save some money for like $27,000 instead of $30,000, you get the base 2.0 liter at 152 horsepower, but it only offers 1 mile per gallon advantage. I know people are trying to save money nowadays. You're going to buy this vehicle, just fork up the extra $3,000 for the bigger engine. Doesn't use any more fuel in the real world. It gives you all the power you need. Unfortunately, instead of being hooked up to a real transmission with real gears, we get a CVT automatic, and I'm not going to explain the difference here in the video. You either know or you don't, but most people think CVTs suck. They've done a pretty good job making this livable, but the main advantage supposedly is fuel economy, but frankly I've never seen much difference between a CVT and a regular transmission unless you're in a very, very small car. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, the manual transmissions were dropped, and that's got a lot of Subaru people very upset, but not that many people were buying them, so no more manuals. Although you can shift manually on the steering wheel if you feel the need. Here's the info screen, large enough, pretty easy to use. And your climate controls operate on the screen. I prefer knobs, but again, it's pretty easy to use. It's kind of drowned out from the sun here, so can't help that. On some earlier Subarus, if you want to turn off that annoying stop-start thing that shuts off the engine stoplights, you had to go through a whole program, restart it every time you get in the car. Here you have to restart every time you get in the car, but the button's always there. Very easy to disconnect. A big improvement. Oh, and by the way, we get a volume knob and a tuning knob. Can't complain about that. The glove box has enough room to take out that giant thick owner's book. Stick it in the back with a spare tire, I say. This is a very well designed gauge cluster. 2 large dials and some things in between. Very nice. I do have one gripe, and it doesn't just pertain to Subaru. Just about all manufacturers have a warning light telling you to disconnect the so-called safety nannies like lane assist, automatic braking. And that's fine itself. The question is, why are you making it orange or red? Those are very serious lights for like when you have a flat tire or check engine light. So if I got myself trained to ignore the yellow light here, what happens if I get a flat tire? I'll ignore that orange light. I'll ignore the check engine orange light. This should be a different color. It's just common sense. Same, you turn off the start-stop system, another orange light you have to deal with. Why can't these be green colored like the headlight indicator light down here on the left, saying it's in automatic mode? Too many orange lights that don't need to be there. Something you'll just have to live with. Oh, by the way, you can shift manually with the stick if you want to by putting this over to the left. Forgot to mention that. By the way, now we're out of the shade into the sun. Here's one little gripe I have. As much as I like the gauge cluster, I don't like the plastic cover in front of it because, as you can see, certain times of the day, at certain angles of the sun, you can't read anything. This is a problem with most vehicles that have the plastic cover, especially with Toyota and Lexus. You just have to live with it. Not a deal killer, just annoying at times. You won't find the power steering annoying. It's the same rack set up in their performance sedans. Good feel, very responsive. And since we're demonstrating that, let's go out and take a drive. This is a pretty comfortable highway cruiser. There's a lot of wind noise swirling around the vehicle, but you really don't hear it. It's pretty well insulated. At 75 miles per hour, you're only pulling 2,000 RPM. Or around 1,800 RPM, depending how the CVT wants to work. But the ride is very comfortable and the steering is great. By the way, we'll be giving you lots of fuel economy numbers, real world fuel economy numbers, not paper. So you might want to stick around for this video. This boxer engine does a pretty good job of climbing steep grades. The torque output is pretty good. We're getting 31 miles per gallon on level ground, but that last couple miles climbing that steep grade knocks down to 29.7. More to come. The handling on curves is excellent, certainly for a crossover. The only gripe I have is that rubber mat in the back isn't doing a very good job securing my toolbox, which is sliding back and forth on every corner. You might hear it clunking every time I make a turn, but guess I'll just have to move it up to the front seat. No big deal. Yeah, the steering's very nice. Strong brakes, too. Now comes the real test. How does the suspension perform on these nasty washboard roads? Well, let's find out. This vehicle is handling these nasty bumps about as good as a standard pickup truck. This is a crossover, basically a car, so you don't want to go too quick. Now for those who want to play in the dirt, this vehicle is more than capable. It's hard to see on the screen because of reflection. We have the normal X mode, snow and dirt, and deep snow and mud. So let's put it in snow and dirt for the moment, like so. And it seems we've gained a lot more traction. By the way, we do have 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty generous. But keep in mind the front bumper sticks out quite a bit, so you might scoop up some dirt along the way, as we did here. Well, terrific. The wheel just spun off this windmill because of the high winds and almost landed on the vehicle. Must be my lucky day. Better go buy a lottery ticket. I was going to stop by the old homestead and check out my buddy here. Her name is Kamala. Hi, Kamala. And over here, we have a buzzard looking for something dead to eat. Hey, We'll call this Hillary. Look at the beak on that thing. They eat people too. And over here we got a Roadrunner. All kinds of crazy critters around here. I'm gonna get out of here before they decide to eat me. One advantage of this little Crosstrek is it does fit narrow trails that big rigs might have a problem with. Yes, it will get a bit more narrow as we go down the road. We're building Christmas trees in July. Interesting. Well, it looks like we hit the pavement just in time. You don't be out there when it's raining. The mud will, well, you'll just sink right in it. The Subaru, we wonder where their car went. Time to wrap up this video. It's in wet weather like this where the all-wheel drive is a real prize. Give you four-wheel drive traction. Helps keep you on the road. Also works for snow and ice and mud. Alright, let's crunch the numbers of today's trip. Got about 120 miles of freeway driving. The rest split up between off-roading and city driving. At 28.2 mpg. Not bad. With 170 miles of range left. As of just over around 400 miles approximately on a tank, but we did put some miles on before we reset everything, so we're missing around 40 miles off that figure. So for 40 miles in the tank, approximately. So what's my take on this Subaru after a week of driving? Well, if you're looking for a nice vehicle for everyday commuting on the pavement, and something to go off-road occasionally with light-duty use, this might be for you. Now, if you didn't see our headlight test and night drive, you can watch it now. Just click and watch.